How are we doing, folks? Well, it is end float car review time, and today we are looking at the Mercedes SLK 200 R171 model, which ran from 2004 to 2010 and featured either a 1.8 litre compressor engine, or the 350 model had a 3.5 litre engine. This particular one has the 1.8 compressor, as I said, denoted by the compressor badge on the side, and puts out 161 horsepower, and this car is great fun to drive. It also looks the part as well too, if I do say so myself. Okay, so yeah, you probably could be forgiven for thinking it's a bit of a hairdresser's car or a bit of a handbag on wheels, but yeah, it kind of is, but it's I still think it's pretty cool, to be honest with you. It's got a particularly nice shape, and the party piece is that roof, so we need to have a look at that first of all. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start the engine, simply because of the fact that I feel it's better to have the engine running when you're putting the roof down. And it does make a nice noise, to be honest. Okay, I'm getting an error message. Close boot separator. We're going to do that. It's like a plastic cover in the boot. I actually love it. I really do. Now we're in business. It's a much nicer looking car than its predecessor, the R170. I think they really made some very nice improvements over the years, and this is the second generation of 3 generations. There's an R170, R171, which is this one, and then there's the R172 as well, which is the later one. But have a look at it now with the foldable hard top down. Now obviously with the hard top down, it does definitely impact on the boot space, which we'll have a look at now. So there's the roof folded up, and there's that boot separator that it was asking me to fold up. Basically it just pulls back, and you have a little piddly boot in there. The car is actually wet because I gave it a belt of a wet cloth and a garden hose that insisted on getting kinked every time I looked at the Jesus thing, but anyway, it's a little bit cleaner anyway. It's not perfect. I didn't go down the route of detailing it or anything like that, but it was in dire need of a wash, to be honest with you. But this particular car has been in the same ownership for the past 8 years, and the owner absolutely loves it, and I can see why, because to be honest with you, they really do drive well. We're going to take it out on the open road in a minute. Let's have a look at that engine first of all. The 1.8 compressor putting out 161 horsepower. Bonnet release is down there where you'd expect. Sensible Germans for you. And sensible place to put the catch, right in the middle. Sensible gas struts. And a very nice looking engine, it has to be said. The compressor's in behind this, it's down below here. You can see the pulley for it there. And the nice thing about this is that they don't go out of their way to kind of put plastic covers over everything. You actually can see what's going on under the bonnet to a certain degree. It's smooth and quiet when you want it to be, but when you do open the taps on it, it does make a nice noise as well too. So there is a nice little balance there, you know, and I have to say I do like the noise it makes. There's a sort of a slight whine to the roots blower, which is the type of compressor it uses. The compressor is a supercharger. That's basically all it is. You know, it's the German name for a supercharger. Now, what does SLK stand for? You'll have to excuse me murdering German here, but it stands for Sportlich, Leicht and Kurz. So, sporty, light and short, or sporty, light and compact. So it kind of describes it fairly well. But the next thing to do is to have a quick look inside in the interior, which has this beautiful red leather, really, really comfortable seats, red leather door cards as well too, typical high quality standard interior that you'd expect of a Merc. They do interiors nicely, it has to be said. Sort of a nice sort of padded dashboard. I mean, it's really soft padding, it's like a foam rubber nearly. And the clocks are nice. Speaking of clocks, that clock, not that one, the time clock, what an absolute nightmare that is to set. Which is the reason why on this very car I actually did a separate how-to video on how to set the clock in a Mercedes SLK. So you can check out that video, and I will put a link to it on the video. So let's get this beast out for a spin. What do you reckon? Now, you can say what you want about this car being a handbag on wheels or a hairdresser's car or whatever, but the one thing it certainly is a driver's car, and it certainly is a lot of fun. The 161 horsepower is really well used, and although this one is an automatic, it doesn't really detract from it yet. Okay, fair enough, sometimes you want to stick it into it, like, you know what I mean, and yeah, manual would be nice in a certain respect, but with the hood down, given this to Welly, it does actually, like, it really holds the road well. There's a nice weight to the steering. It's hydraulic power steering, which I really like. It's not too light and floaty. It holds the road well. You feel like it can throw it into the corners, and the brakes are sharp, but not so sharp that you feel like you're going to go through the window if you nudge them. So, which to be honest with you, with a lot of German cars, I do tend to criticise them about. Audis particularly. I remember driving an Audi A6 2-litre turbo, and the brakes were brutal. They were either full on or full off. I mean, there was no finesse to them whatsoever, and the steering was light and floaty. There was no feel to it, and also you could not keep that car under the speed limit. It was just constantly over the speed limit every time you take it onto a motorway. An autobahn cruiser is absolutely well and good in an autobahn, but when you're trying to keep it at our speed limits on motorways at 120, it's a different story. But anyway, let's get back to this car, this Mercedes SLK. Yeah, we'll get moving. Now, one of the criticisms I do have at this early stage is the visibility when the roof is up. Particularly, it's not so bad when the roof is down, but when the roof is up, it's appallingly bad. Right, I've the gearbox in sport mode now, so, and it's a nice twisty road, this. Really does go down the road very nicely. It inspires a lot of confidence. I really do enjoy driving this car. It's not without its problems, you know. I mean, this particular car has 120,000 kilometers on it, and yeah, it's going all right, but there have been issues. One of the particular issues with this car was the rear subframe ended up failing the national car test, the roadworthiness test, because of corrosion. Now, on a 0.5 car, that's not acceptable. However, and this is the big however, Mercedes Ireland honoured the warranty claim even after all these years. Bearing in mind this is now a 15-year-old car, and this was only done 2 or 3 years ago. So that's impressive, and fair play to Mercedes Ireland for that. That's a big thumbs up from me now, I have to say, because yeah, they accepted the fact that it shouldn't suffer from that at this early stage of the game. You know, I mean, it's a modern car. You know, it's a different situation when you're talking about a 1974 Mini with subframe corrosion after 15 years, you know, which you could accept. not inclined to go into sport mode in the gearbox for me for some reason. I wonder if it's just a... Oh. You see, there's another thing, like, you know, I mean, why won't it? It's still in C mode. Okay, fair enough, it's in C mode, you know, that's okay, but I wanted an S mode. The other thing as well too, base level spec on these cars can be a bit lacking sometimes. This car doesn't have air conditioning, for example. Now, a car at this price point, and it wasn't a cheap car when it was new, should have had air conditioning. I'm stuck behind a tractor. Ah! It's typical. It's harvesting season in Ireland, and tractors are getting bigger and bigger, but the roads aren't. So you'd want to see some of the agricultural monster trucks that people drive around in nowadays. My God. It beggars belief. They're impressive. There was a tractor in the field behind me pulling a trailer full of, you know, they were picking potatoes, and you want to see the size of that machine. Anyway, we're talking about tractors. Come on, turn off, turn off. Bollocks anyway. One of the big things about this car as well too is it's actually really good on petrol. It's you know, you get about 40-45 to the gallon out of it, which for a 1.8 supercharged engine coupled to an automatic gearbox, that's pretty impressive, to be honest with you. Now, it's not like, you know, old school automatics. It's it's got a locking torque converter on it. I believe it's 7-speed. I've never been so inclined to count the number of gears in it, or number of ratios in it. And it doesn't tell you. This is a 15-year-old car, and it does still feel tight. It feels like it gets down the road well, you know. I mean, it does. It hasn't kind of gotten any sort of woolliness to it or anything, so it does still. It still feels very new. That being said, you know, as I said, you do see age in certain areas, and Mercedes don't deserve credit for reliability, to tell you the truth. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree with me if you want to, but I personally don't think that Mercedes are particularly reliable cars. And the thing about them is the fact that when they go wrong, and they do go wrong, they are seriously expensive to repair. Parts are crazy money. And there's some things that are just flimsy in them, you know, I mean, yeah. That's just my 2 cents on it. So the Comfort Sport Mode Selector button is not working. For whatever reason. And shocker, there's an Audi up my arse. You know an Audi driver, because it's that characteristic thing of they wait until they're about to slam into the back of you and then stand on the brakes, rather than allowing for anything unusual or that to happen. Right, power, all of it. Ah, yeah. absolutely love it. I love it. And this seat is so comfortable. You'll excuse the road noise, but you have to do a road test on this car with the roof down. Anything else is sacrilege. And I don't have a separate external microphone. So, it's at home on the twisty stuff. It's at home on a big kind of main road like this where I'm cruising along at 90k. It's just shy of 60 miles an hour for you folks over in the UK. About 55. And you know, it could be just as at home on an autobahn. It just really is. It's a nippy little sports car which can do a lot, really, and do it well. It is a two-seater sports car though, so don't be expected to bring a new wardrobe home. Unless, of course, you can put it in the passenger seat and keep the roof open. When you accelerate gently, it really transitions through the gears with that particular finesse that you would expect from the Mercedes-Benz Slushmatic gearbox. You know, you don't feel the gear shifts, not unless you want to, and you have some control over it. You can move the gear shift left and right, and so if you want to downshift, knock it left. Great for when you're overtaking or that you're preempting a maneuver. I bought my beers for this evening, so I'm a happy man. There's a nice little bend up here that we can throw it into. She does handle well. It really does bring a smile to my face, this car. It's just great fun. And yeah, there is issues. I mean, there's no perfect car, but the driving experience really just does make up for it. It's just a fantastic little car. It's like a go-kart, and it can be got for reasonably small money nowadays. And you know, maybe I'm being a little bit unfair on it, saying it's a bit of a hairdresser's car, because to be honest with you, you know, they don't look so bad in black, for example. They look a lot better that way. Now this road is in shite, you know, this road is in bits, okay? So, you know, in any other vehicle, it's a nightmare to drive on, but I'm cruising along here and it's beautiful. Well, I wouldn't go that far, maybe it's not beautiful, but the car handles it beautifully. .161 horsepower doesn't seem like a huge amount in the grand scheme of things compared to other cars out there, you know, but you have to remember the likes of the MGF, for example, which is a little two-seater sports car, that had 115 horsepower when it came out, and it still felt like a quick little car. That's another car, by the way, that is wrongly criticised in so many ways, and they are a great fun little car to drive. That being said, just make sure you have good tyres on the back of it, because they will kick you in the arse. If you overstep the mark in an MGF, you'll know about it. They swap ends on you very easily. This, on the other hand, doesn't so much. Not to say that I've ever kind of pushed it to its limits. I really haven't had the opportunity too much as I would like to, in a way, but I don't think the owner would appreciate it too much. The other thing as well too, you'll notice here, is the fact that I've got the roof down now, you know, and I'm not really getting buffeted too badly. You know, I mean, there's a little bit of wind blowing around, but if you have a problem with that, maybe a convertible isn't for you. It's fine, it's comfortable, you know, and these seats are just a thing of beauty. I really, really like these seats. If you get the opportunity to have a spin on one of these, take that opportunity. Even if you're not going out to buy one, just get a drive on one sometime. They are lovely. They're really, really nice to drive. And that steering is just, it's fabulous. And they've just got the weight just perfectly dialed in, you know. It's not too heavy, it's not too light. It's got that sporty feel, and yet you still have power assisted steering. Okay, so that's the Mercedes SLK 200. Last thing to do now is to put the roof up. I actually love it. Well folks, thanks very much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and there'll be plenty more car reviews on the way over the next while, and I will see you in a future video.